It's that time. It's the first countdown of 2022. Let's get to it. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Sandy. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I have a countdown video for you. If you're not familiar with the 1001 Book Countdown, I am basically reading books off of the 1001 Books You Must Read Before You Die list and just slowly working my way through them. I will leave a card up here for you where you can go and check out the original video where I go and talk about a lot of the details, but I'm having an absolute blast. So hopefully you consider giving me a subscribe and continue on my journey with me. And I also have a playlist for you. If you want to go back and watch some very painful early videos, you certainly can do that. And a huge thank you to Freshly Read Books. I will leave their channel linked in the description below for you because they have been doing exactly that. So thank you so much. But for today, what we'll do is we will go ahead and put up the numbers, which are 950, that's how many I have left off of the 1001 list, and 52, which is the 2022 number. And at the beginning of the year, I pre-select 52 books, and that number just keeps track of how many I have read off of the 52. Last year, in 2021, I ended the year with one. You know, but I'm still happy with that decision to end it. No, I ended it with two. I ended it with two, not one. Oh, well. Anyway, moving on. My goodness. But for this year, wow, that was really screechy. For this year, what I'm going to do is go ahead and jump into the books. So the first book that I have is a book that I picked up for the Reading Africa Challenge, which is a challenge being hosted by Mark over at Book Time with Elvis following the Africa Cup of Nations football tournament. Each person is given a country. If your country wins, you read a book from that country. If they lose, you have to read a book by the country who beat them. I did the Reading Europe Challenge with that group, and it was just so much fun getting to support everyone and commiserate when your team loses, and I don't follow football, so I know. But I drew Egypt, which was absolutely amazing because I have so many books on the 1001 Book Countdown for Egypt, and I have read a couple of them. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Woman at Point Zero by Nawal Saadawi. This book, for being such a short book, is very, very moving and powerful. It follows, at the start of the book, you follow someone who is going to a prison to talk to a woman who is scheduled to be executed, who doesn't want to talk with her. And kind of at the last minute, she is allowed an audience with this woman. And the woman goes through and just documents basically her whole life in a very short and powerful little story. And it is devastating. It is so hard to read, this particular, not hard to read, but it is one of those that so much of what happened to her was out of her control, and then when she took control, things went sideways. And so it just was very hard to read the circumstances of this woman, what happened to her, what led her to being in prison and scheduled to be executed, and just all of the points of her life. It was very well written. It's very short. Like I said, it was an easy, fast read. For being such a short book, it flew by for me. I would highly recommend it, especially if you end up in the Africa Challenge and you need an Egypt book. This is a great one because of how short it is, but I really enjoyed the writing. I really enjoyed the story. I thought it was phenomenal. And with this book, we get to go from 950 to 949, and it is on the 2021 list. So we go from 52 to 51, and I promise you, I will forget what those numbers are. All right, the second book is also for the Reading Africa Challenge, and that is Miramar by Naguib Mahfouz. Unfortunately, this book was less successful for me, and even though I have read this book, I honestly struggle to tell you what it was about. There is a palace Miramar. There's a girl who is hired as a servant, and there's a lot of things that kind of happen at the end that are disturbing, I guess is what you would say. But I don't know if it's the translation. I don't know if it's the story. I could not get into this story at all. I struggled with this one. This is another fairly short read, and I didn't care what happened to these characters, which is really too bad. Whenever that happens, I always wonder, is it me? Is there something I've missed? I have another book by the same author called Medak Alley, which I was also planning to read in January, but I don't know now. I have to read it in 2022. It's on the list. It's on the 2022 list. But this one really put me off. And I don't know, again, is it the translation? Because the writing just felt really choppy to me. It was very hard to get connected to a character. It was very hard to understand what was going on. And like I said, after having read it, I can't really even tell you what it's about. So very disappointing one, this one. Not one that I would say pick up right away. If you've read this one and you had a different experience, please let me know. I'm just really curious if there's someone who's read this that said, yeah, that's an amazing book. But for me, I just didn't connect with this one, which is really too bad. But with this book, we go from 949 to 948, and it is on the 2021 list. So we go from 51 to 50. All right. I also just realized I'm not giving you any details about when things were published or the order they were published. I just am not very prepared today, so I apologize in advance for that. The next book I did as a buddy read with my friend Sonia. So Sonia, if you haven't finished this book quite yet, please don't listen to this and skip forward somewhere farther. Sorry. But the next book is the chunkiest book that I have read so far in January, and it is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Now, this one you can see right on the cover did win the Pulitzer Prize. I'm not sure what year it won. It is one of the more recent works by Finch, I believe. It was published in 2013, and this book follows a character whose name is Theo Decker, and Theo is in trouble at the start of the story and is with his mother on the way to school to talk to the principal about what he has done. He's not really 100% sure what he did, how he got in trouble, but his mom is taking him to the principal's office, and they stop at a museum because they're early, and they are wandering through the museum and come across the painting, which is the Goldfinch. The Goldfinch features all throughout this story. It is a main character almost through the whole thing. But there is a tragedy that happens at the museum and that will impact Theo's life for the entire book. He is really devastated with what happens. He makes some, poor decisions in the beginning that also impact his life. And this is the story of Theo just being bounced around, of Theo really trying to figure out who he is, given everything that had happened to him. I don't want to give away all of the pieces of what happens to the story, but it is a little bit of a coming of age story of Theo. It is somewhat of a found family story as well, and it involves a lot of dubious practices, I would guess, for both Theo and the people that he is around. My one issue with this book was actually the very last chapter. I did not get all of the characters' stories wrapped up in a way that I wanted to see them. I think Theo's was the one that they wrapped up the best, but there were a number of other characters that are just kind of left out at the end, and that is really what I found missing about this book. The rest of the story was very moving. My friend Sonia and I were going to read 200 pages a week, and it is the 14th, and I have finished it because I couldn't put it down once it got to a particular point in the book. I had to find out what was going to happen next. I really needed to find out what happened, but that last part of it really is what brought the rating of this book down a little bit for me, because I really needed a bit more of a resolution of the characters. So yeah, The Goldfinch. I have also read The Secret History by Donna Tartt and thought it was okay. I like this one considerably more than The Secret History. I think that this one is, if you're up for a chunky book, this one you have to be able to get past the first couple of chapters. And then once you're in Theo's life, it really is very helpful. I know Sonia also listened to it rather than trying to read it. The text in this, the font in this is fairly small, as you can see. So it is a bit hard to read in the physical form. I actually read it in an ebook because it was a lot easier for me and I could take it really anywhere it went to on our vacation with us. So I was able to read it while we were traveling. But this particular book is one that, like I said, you have to get past the first couple chapters, and then it really got really good until the last chapter, which lost me. But The Goldfinch with Donna Tartt, we go from 948 to 947, and it is on the 2021 list. So we go from 50 to 49. I think those numbers are right. I think maybe. I don't know. All right. The last book that I have for you today is one that is called Happy by Nicola Barker. This book was published in 2017. So the start of this book follows a character whose name is Mira A. And Mira A lives, it's described as a post-apocalyptic Alice in Wonderland, which is why I picked it up in January, because I was really curious about that concept. This book follows a character named Mira A, and Mira A is living in a very homogenized world. There is a stream out there that monitors where you're at, and you have to try and stay in the middle. Too high, too low, you create what's called a bruise. You can impact other streams, and it's all about living this life of perfect balance and harmony. There is something monitoring her. You never really get an idea of who that is or what is going on with that. You just know that something is monitoring her. And the characters in this, there's also a Mira B that shows up later. And the parts that I really loved was the beginning of this book. You walk through and you're just going, okay, what is this world that they're in right now? And what is this homogenized world that they are living in? She sees something in a stream that technically she's allowed to see, but it causes her to go down a very difficult path for living in this particular world. And everything after that is really about her trying to get back to a normal life, a happy life, and be part of the mainstream again. And at parts, she's taken out of the mainstream. It's really interesting kind of concept. It lost me though, unfortunately, at the last third of the book. And some of it is because of like the differences in the formatting. If you look at this book, it's hard to see, but you can see over here there's some bold, there's some that's in blue, different fonts, and it just changed and bounced around so much. And there's a lot of, I think a lot of that was relating to kind of chaos, right? But it lost me, and I had trouble at the end of it going, okay, well, what actually happened here? And how did she come out of this? So for me, the ending let me down. The beginning of this book, I was enthralled. I had to keep reading. I wanted to find out what this meant. This Happy with this A shows up over and over and over again throughout the story, sometimes with it colored in red, sometimes it is black, sometimes the font is purple, sometimes the font is blue, sometimes it's green. All of that relates to the stream and how it's relating to the stream. But it got so complicated towards the end that it's like I couldn't understand what was actually going on with it. But this particular book, I am happy. I read it, and there is some irony because recently I was talking in a video about balance, and then this book is all about balance. I'm like, okay, is this book trying to tell me something? I don't know. But with this book, 950 to 949, 949, 948, 948 to 948. This book, we go from 947 to 946. And if those numbers are not right, I will put up the right numbers up here. Sorry about that. Oh, and it is on the 2022 list, so that number goes from 49 to 48. I am officially ahead on the 2022 list, which is absolutely amazing. I don't even have to read, I think I only have to read one more book in January to stay 100% on track, which is exactly what I wanted to have happen, because now I can get just a tiny bit ahead, because I know in later months I'm not going to want to necessarily read as much. So I'm very pleased overall with the progress. I am more pleased with the book Women at Point Zero and what a wonderful read that was, and also with The Goldfinch up until like the last chapter. So I think I had some high quality reads over the last few weeks for the 1001 book countdown, and then a couple that just didn't work. And I'm okay with that result. I think that reading off of the list, it gives me exposure to a lot of different types of books I would never have picked up. There's no way I would have picked up Women at Point Zero really ever. Miramar, I also wouldn't have picked up, but it wasn't as successful. There was more likelihood that I would have read Goldfinch, but Woman at Point Zero is the highlight of this countdown for me. It was the book that I responded to the most, that I was the most engaged with, and just absolutely, absolutely loved. So that is the end of the countdown. 4 books, but in fairness, it's over 3 weeks because I haven't done a countdown in a bit. For coming up, what do I have coming up for the 1001 book countdown? I have this one, Americana, by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and this is because for the Reading Africa Challenge, Egypt lost to Nigeria. So I do have this one. I would like to read it. It is a bit chunkier than I really want to read in January, but this one is one that I would like to pick up fairly soon. It's on the 1001 list, but not the 2022 list. I don't know. And then the next one that I have is The Violent Bear It Away by Flannery O'January. Same thing. It's on the 1001 list, but not on the 2022 list. And this is for Flannery O'January. I would really like to start reading this one pretty much today, if not tomorrow. So yeah, but this one, what's interesting about this one is there are very wide margins in this book. So I'm curious how long this is going to take me. There is a Discord channel out there for this that Victoria at a Musical Bookworm hosts. I will leave her channel linked in the description below. It is also hosted, I believe, by Noah at Everybody Who Reads It Must Converse, and I think Christy Lewis Dostoevsky in Space, I think. But I will leave all of the appropriate hosts in the description below. But this one hopefully will be the next one that I pick up. And I think that's actually it for the first countdown of 2022. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, thanks, bye.